All right, welcome day 5, Enlisted2Entrepreneur Challenge, day 5, command and signals. So we're just starting. We're live on Zoom and on Facebook Live. Hopefully sound is okay on the Facebook Live. Alright, so today we are doing the last and final day of the challenge. It's following, as you know, the 5-point op order format, the SMASC format, and today we can talk about command and signals. Before we do that though, I just wanted to thank everyone for the amazing opportunity to change more veteran lives for the better. We're over 100 people now in the group. It's great. Hope you guys are finding the content useful. At least someone is here, and it will help you launch your business or scale your existing business, or even maybe get some skills that you can use in just to get employment in this hot industry, digital marketing. Nevertheless, we are going to start and talk about some of the command and signals. We're going to talk about scaling up your business with products and people, and then talk about some operations points, and wrap it all up talking about how to regain purpose, mission, status, income, and how to become part of the movement. And again, my camera is not cooperating today. It's looks like it's every other day, but so it looks like it's just death by PowerPoint today. Now, if you were paying attention during this week, I mentioned there are only 3 ways to grow a business. It's to get more customers, get them to buy more from you, and get them to come back more often. So, we touched on the subject of some of the strategies and tactics on how to get more customers and how to get them to buy more from you and how to get them to come back. And we also talked about how to develop different product and service ideas. So we're just going to expand a little more how this applies to scaling a business, and we're going to use a 7-figure business as an example. You may recall these slides from yesterday, what it takes to have $1 million business or more, anywhere from selling 1 million of things that are worth $1 to selling one thing that's $1 million and everything in between. And in this example, this book says you have to have 3 to 5 products selling 30 units a day, and you have $1 million business. So the question was how do you get those 3 to 5 products? And one of the things that I talked about was something called the value ladder, right? Where you have an ascension system of different tiers of products to take the prospect anywhere from like the entry level lowest cost to like the highest level service. And of course, people can enter at any point in the ladder and go up and down. So they can come in at the top and then just buy everything underneath. But in case you want to have more variety, usually the big question is, well, how do you get these ideas? Like if you're stuck. So the best answer is to ask the customer, and you got to be obsessed. So sales is simply solving problems. Like in the beginning, you typically solve like one problem to launch your company and get it off the ground. But in order to scale, you just got to keep solving problems. And you must be like a detective looking for problems to solve. Remember day one I mentioned there was a friend of mine, Dan, from the Australian police force, who used to be a detective before he became really successful in e-commerce and generated like $20 million in sales. Well, he said that, yeah, exactly, being a detective has helped him tremendously by like talking to people, figuring out what makes them tick, and also to look for more problems to solve for the audience. And again, the best place to find these is by spending the time with your people inside your communities. You got to be obsessed about solving problems for your customers. And in our business, we developed $1 million version of a product. It was a new version based solely on seeing the same type of comment on our Facebook ads again and again and again. It's like, when are you gonna make a version that fits into this thing? Basically, they wanted a smaller and more versatile version of our gadget, and after a while we finally noticed and did something about it. It took about 9 months of R&D, but we figured out a manufacturer who could develop that version. And that new version went on to sell for another 2 years, and easily made 7 figures in sales. Okay, so ask the customer. Well, how do you do that? So one way, and you can do this even before you launch your first product, you can even use it for your first one, but here's a good way, is to basically look at the existing feedback from customers, either your customers or your competitors' customers, on similar products, and just kind of see what they like and they don't like. So you can go and take a look at all the 5-star reviews and then all the 1-star reviews on your product or your competition, and then identify patterns, like what really matters to them and what really matters to them that is bad, that they don't like. There's also free tools on the internet called word cloud generators. They basically, you paste a bunch of data into them and they find the most commonly used words. So if you do that and you see that, for example, this tactical backpack product, and everything was like they had like really poorly designed straps that didn't work, maybe you can develop your version of a tactical backpack that will have like really amazing straps. It's going to solve the problem that everybody complains for who gave them 1 star. And this is how you're going to beat this company and create your own superior version that people want to buy. Another way is simply ask, right? So one of my former business partners, he actually worked for this gentleman, Ryan Levesque, who wrote this book, national bestseller, called Ask, or also known the Ask method. It's the counterintuitive online method to discover exactly what your customers want to buy. And basically all it is using quizzes and polls to ask your audience about what do they want, what they don't want, and really, it doesn't even have to be your customers. If you have an existing customer list, that's great. If not, you can post this in surveys in different groups or online, ask people to fill it out. There's also, Google has something called Google Surveys, which is a very interesting thing. Let me just show you real quick. Is you pay Google for each survey that somebody responds to, and you could ask all kinds of questions. It's a pretty cool thing. It's not super expensive, and you know, see, there's example surveys you can see, but definitely can leverage this very cheaply and just get some sort of public opinion on certain things that you can ask. You can ask multiple choice, short answer, and you know, it's a really cool thing if you don't have your own kind of audience, right? So, thing is with surveys though, you gotta, just one thing I learned is, you know, people may say something, but that doesn't mean that they will necessarily vote with their wallet. So that's the thing. Like, we, for example, tried some t-shirt designs, and we made an Instagram story poll, like, would you buy this? And like a large number of people said yes, we like the design, we would buy it. And then we actually started trying to sell it, and nobody bought it. So the ultimate test is, of course, if people vote with their wallets. But nevertheless, I do recommend this book. And asking your audience is absolutely the best way of generating new ideas, new products, new features to keep your company growing and scaling, and just keep solving problems. And the other way of scaling up is people. Again, we already touched yesterday on, you know, how to get some help, some of the freelancer sites and apprenticeship sites, and, you know, gig sites where you can get help with certain tasks. So, you know, if you want it or not, typically if you want your company to grow, you have to grow with people. I mean, there are certain things you can do just by yourself. Let's say you're a coach or a consultant, and then, you know, you can probably continue growing just by yourself, just getting more clients, raising your prices, and releasing products. But in most businesses, in order to grow, you will need help, you will need people, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Now, very important point, like, I know, especially for someone who's like starting out or is not very experienced, you know, I'm starting to mention these books, and you got to learn this thing and learn that thing. Keep in mind that you don't have to know everything on day one, right? It's just like the military. You go through the basic course, and you go through your trade course, and you go through other courses to level up as you get more responsibility. Same thing here. Like, I think, you know, you probably heard average CEO reads 60 books a year. Well, first of all, they're already CEO, all right? And secondly, you know, don't get overwhelmed. Like, don't think, oh, I need to know all of these things before I can take the first step. You know, like, I think Nelson Mandela said, you don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step. And that is very true. I know a lot of people who are like paralysis by analysis, and they're always in this learning mode, and they never do anything. Like, oh, I got to learn the next course, I got to learn the next tactic. And, you know, by the time they wait for the tactic, that they just lose momentum and they never start. So that's the problem. So don't get overwhelmed, and your main effort should still be to get your next idea off the ground, especially if you're starting out. And then when you encounter problems, that's when you can use something called just-in-time learning to deal with that problem. So, like, Catch Me If You Can, if you remember that movie, it was actually based on a real character, right? So this con artist, and he apparently taught an entire semester of something like psychology or something at a university in the US, and nobody noticed. So when the FBI finally caught him, that was one of the things, you know, amongst other scams that he pulled. They asked him, how did you manage to teach an entire semester of this college? Are you experienced in psychology? He's like, no. Then how did you do it? And he just said, I just read one chapter ahead. So pretty much that's what you can do in the business, is like just figure out solutions to your problems as they arise, or like closely anticipate them. But don't try to anticipate something that's going to happen like 5 years from now, because it will typically paralyze you. So with that said, scaling up with people. So the big thing is, again, you will need help, and one of the mindset shifts that I still sometimes struggle with is, you got to ask, who not how. And what I mean by that is this infographic. I was trying to find a better one, but it sort of represents what I mean. Is that when typically you ask how, you're like, oh, how do I do this thing? How do I learn this thing? Like, I need to take some time to learn it, and basically you end up going these loops, and you may spin into procrastination, and it will take a lot longer. And who typically is just finding somebody who's an expert who can help you, or at least better than you. Like yesterday I brought up an example when I was trying to fix a problem with my WordPress web page, and it took me half a day, and then somebody for $5 fixed it to me in 15 minutes. So that's the example of who, like a simple one, where leveraging someone who's better at something that I am would have saved me an entire day, right? And there is a book, I'm actually reading it right now, called exactly Who, Not How. It's a very good book. It kind of teaches you, trains you to think that way, right? Obviously, initially when you're just starting out, you may have some limited resources, so you may not be able to afford, the best of the best right away, but it's good to at least try and, get some help along the way. Another good book also was recommended to me by Len from Arrowhead Coffee, and he says that he's always talent scouting. Like every week, every 2 weeks, he's interviewing someone or whatever, because he wants to know good people, and when he's got to scale rapidly, he knows someone he can call upon, even if he's not hiring at the moment. So this book called Who is a great book on just kind of how to source and screen A players, right? Because if you make some mistakes during the hiring process, it's gonna undermine your entire company early on. And on that, you got to find good team members and treat them well. Ideally, you got to look for people who are amazing at what they do, and typically they won't be cheap, but sometimes you can, especially with like geographical arbitrage. You can still find someone across the world who's not going to command as high of a price as a local talent, and still be good or better. They say you gotta hire out your weaknesses first. I tend to agree with that, because what I ended up doing is, like, let's say I was good at Google Ads, and then I was like, well, I gotta like scale up, so let me find somebody who doesn't know a lot about Google Ads, train them, teach them what I do, and then I can do other things. What ended up happening is that, like, you got a mediocre or inexperienced Google Ads person now, and then you got a mediocre CEO, me, trying to do other things, and everything is kind of not running optimally. A better way would have been to hire my weaknesses first to save my time, and still do what I do best to continue growing, and then eventually hire out the strength as a force multiplier. So get a rock star Google manager to supplement what I do, and maybe let go of the gas myself a little bit, so I can focus on other things, but not lose in the Google department. Another thing with scaling up with people is, they say take a look at the candidate, and if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I struggle with that all the time, because again, if I'm scrambling or I need a problem solved urgently, I tended to sometimes just kind of put butts in seats, and in the long run, it always cost me dearly. It very rarely worked. I mean, it's probably okay if you just need like a one-time gig or something, just like a quick fix or one-time job. But for something long-term, definitely that's a good litmus test to apply. And another thing is, they say hire slow, fire fast. And I heard another saying that says, people quit first and then they leave, which means they're already mentally checked out for days, weeks, months before they actually give you their resignation, because they're mentally checked out, they already quit on you, and they're just looking for their next thing, their exit, while they're still draw a paycheck from you. So that's another thing to watch out for. So some of the key roles in a online business, at least, can be in-house, can be outsourced to like a freelancer, or it could be outsourced to a third-party agency. Like I said, you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to hire all these people. But one of my first hires was a designer and developer, just to help me with web pages. Even though I was okay at them, it still was very time-consuming, and eventually I had a hard time keeping up with the technology. So that was one of my first hires, and it really freed my hands to do, run ads essentially. Another thing is just sort of general virtual assistant. Like I heard this saying, like if you don't have an assistant, then you are the assistant. So that's true, and I'm also still struggling with that. So like if you spend your time doing like little administrative things, and it just eats away at your day, and then you end up accomplishing less. So things like research, like low-level research, reaching out, etc. Virtual assistant is highly recommended. Then again, if you're good at ads, maybe you can be an ads manager. But if you're not the best, eventually you will want to hire somebody, or hire an agency, or I forgot to add a slide how not to get burned by agencies. Yesterday I said get your books in order early on. So yeah, some sort of a bookkeeping or accounting help is a key role. Copywriter, again, yesterday I shared some copywriting books. You may become the best copywriter in your company, and maybe that's the role you're going to take on. But essentially, yeah, like if you want to get ahead of the competition, you got to be able to use words better than them. And most people are kind of mediocre, average with copywriting. So if you can get better than average, you're going to be so far ahead. Customer service, especially as you start selling a lot of things direct to consumer, or have more clients, and you can personally handle, you will need customer service help to take care of all the day-to-day stuff, like where's my login info, or like where's my package, because otherwise you're just going to be answering them yourself all day. And then I heard a couple of people with large 8-9 figure businesses say like ops manager got to be one of your first hires. I tried that, and for me it didn't quite work, because I still needed to kind of make sure that the revenue coming in was significantly higher. So that's debatable when the operations manager got to come in, early on or later on, but that's one of the key hires, because then it frees you up to do what you're supposed to do with your business, being the CEO and not COO, working on the business, not in the business. One thing here that I'm going to add right now is something that you want to consider is a videographer. So I'll tell you why. So for instance, if everything online is moving to video lately, like you got your IGTV on Instagram, Facebook Reels, TikTok is blowing up, YouTube is is a record high usage. So if you're not in video yet, you probably are missing out. And I actually had a videographer for about a year and a half in-house. That was basically getting a local college student, like very inexpensive, and they usually have their own equipment already, so works great. And basically you can do it your own video shoots, or you can do shoots of your products, or even just documenting behind the scenes at your company. And for the longest time I was kind of dismissive of that, but I'll give you an example. So if you have come into this challenge through the website and not directly from Facebook, I'll show you. You've probably seen the video on the homepage. Basically, the video with the exotic cars, and it's I'm in the video, but I wasn't the main character in it. It actually belongs to another gentleman who was on this this outing, and he owns I think the largest car wrapping franchise in Canada. He's got like 8 or 9 locations, basically wrapping cars into vinyl. And you would think this is like the most on internet business, just like automotive shop basically, but he's got a full-time videographer on staff following him around at all times and basically shooting the back of the scenes of his company, and they've experienced tremendous growth just through that. Because they got a ton of business coming in from TikTok, from YouTube, from Instagram, just basically shooting cars of their customers that they wrap, and also just some of the behind of the scenes of the cars that they work on, and like it's getting like, let's see how many views this video had. Like, this is an automotive shop essentially that's got its own TV show, right? And this video alone had, let's see, I think something like 30,000 views. Yeah, so 22,000 views since 18 days ago. So think of what that could do for your business, and all it takes is just like a student with a camera to follow you around and just post content about what you do on online. I mean, probably working with supercars helps a little bit more. Then maybe it's not something as sexy that you do, but hey, maybe you have a gym and you have like a lot of people who are going through a personal transformation, or like really good looking athletes or something. Like, that's probably good to me. So basically a videographer is something that if you can afford it, it's probably a good thing, at least for the long run, for sure. So again, another book, and like I said, remember just-in-time learning. It's a book about pretty much scaling up Silicon Valley startups, but the methodology makes sense for any business. And you can read it, but some of the key things that I took out of it is, you gotta have systems and processes, SOPs and stuff. And coming from the military, we should be good at establishing SOPs. And another thing is they have like a cadence of meetings and AARs, after action reviews. This is something that the military started doing recently as well, and it's very, very effective. So I'm going to switch to the browser and show you a little bit about how we do this. So I mentioned some of the tools, Asana, project management. So we have this like master board, and we went from having little silo project boards to just like one giant one for the company earlier this year, and this was everybody said it was effective. So it's broken down into what's called swim lanes by kind of function, and we took it from like the Japanese Kanban continuous improvement philosophy. So what happens is, like, a task gets generated and then it can go from one swim lane to another as needed, and different functions can add to the completion of the task. And as you can see, this is anywhere from starting from business development and market research to then writing copy, creating websites for it, adding graphics, video, then start to launch traffic, and then it's broken into Facebook, Google, YouTube, push notifications, influencers, email. And there's conversion rate optimization, and there's customer service and fulfillment and operations, parking lot for all the good idea grenades that kind of never see the light of day and need to wait there indefinitely, and then completed tasks are here. So that was a really powerful game changer for us, and it streamlined operations tremendously, right? And another thing, I mentioned Slack. So Slack is basically like a company chat. It's based on internet relay chat back in the 90s, if somebody remembers that. But essentially, there's different channels, team channels, where you can kind of you can DM people directly, or you can create little theme-related channels. Like, here's for our general company-wide announcements. There's some stuff for Facebook, for Google, for sourcing, for customer support, for everything. And then this one is in the spirit of the Scaling Up book. We have a bot that basically pings everybody every day for the daily what's called stand-up meetings. Like, what are the tasks that they're going to focus on today, what are the results from the day before, and any problems that they want the team to solve, right? So just some of the little simple things that you can implement to make things easier for you and keep yourself organized. So that's some points on scaling with people and getting the infrastructure in place to free yourself from the day-to-day, from the grind, and allow you to work on the business, not in the business. For the second half of today, I want to talk about regaining purpose, mission, status, and income, and becoming part of the movement, right? So the key takeaway from this week that I want everyone to have is you got to take action. Like, it's on the website also if you register through the website, but if all it does for you is, you spend 5-6 hours watching the stuff and say, this is cool, and then go back and don't execute, then it was really intellectual entertainment, or as somebody else I know says, mental masturbation. You got to take action. You got to take massive action, and like the Sir Winston Churchill said, is never worry about action, but only inaction. There comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. That special opportunity will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he will find greatness at his finest hour. And I think the part that is missing is that, what a shame if he's unprepared or misses the opportunity. And that's something that I want everybody on this call, everybody on this challenge, is to take action and take the first step. And that's why I designed the homework to have those micro commitments, have those mini wins that will give you the confidence to go ahead and either launch your first idea or scale your existing operations. And another thing is about regaining mission, status, and purpose is becoming part of the team. A lot of us, when we left the military, a lot of veterans, they kind of find themselves a little bit lost without a new purpose, a new mission, and especially missing the team, the people. So you've probably heard that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that is true. And that's not to knock on your existing friends and family, but in order to get ahead, you gotta level up, and the best way is to get in the right circles with the right people who will elevate you and lift you up. Oprah said, surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher, right? And then you probably heard this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So you got to find opportunities to join other like-minded people, like you are already in this group, which has got over 100 people already. So that's a good start. There's other groups, of course, business groups. There's local business associations you can join, organizations, chapters, whatever. Just networking events. Just keep surrounding yourself and building your network with other entrepreneurs, high-level executives, and just high performers in general. And you can get help from mentors and coaches if you ever get stuck, and you can have your own little virtual mentor / coach in basically any book that you write, because that's 20 years of somebody's experience put into a book that you're going to read in a few days. So that's, I think, Napoleon Hill and his book Think and Grow Rich. He said that was his virtual council or imaginary council, that all of the great people, great authors, can borrow their wisdom just from their books alone. But then the next thing, of course, is to join a real mastermind, a real group of people who are working on similar things and elevating and sharing knowledge and mentoring each other and helping each other. So that's what I highly advise. And like Jocko says, hesitation kills. Don't wait, go now. And let me ask you a question again. Do you feel like what you've learned here this week can get you going, or can get you to the next level? I hope you do. And if you like my help with implementing any of this, I invite you to work with me. It's a unique opportunity. I've never done this before at this scale. I have mentored people individually, one-on-one, and you can apply at can.enlisted2entrepreneur.com. We'll see all the details there. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time today going through it, but I highly recommend you check it out. And with that, we're going to start wrapping up today. Today we went through command and signals. We learned how to scale with products and people, how to streamline the operations and set yourself up for scale. And you know what? It's not over. Tomorrow I'm going to do a bonus session. It's going to be an AMA, Ask Me Anything, so it'll be announced in the group. And I'll be available. We'll do a live and a Zoom, and just answer any questions you guys have on anything covered this week, or just anything about entrepreneurship, business. Please join and meet others in the group, exchange tips, points, questions, whatever, right? But to sum up the 5-day challenge, so what we've covered this week was on day 1 we covered the situation, why digital marketing and online commerce are the biggest business opportunities of the century, and if anything they're biggest job opportunities too, because a lot of people need help with going online. And even if you don't want to start your own business, you can still get a valuable skill and get them help as a team member. I also explained the most popular online business models, especially those that I personally had experience with, and we discussed why veterans are uniquely qualified for entrepreneurship and some of the skills that are transferable that they don't realize about. Day 2, Tuesday, we worked on developing mission and purpose, defining the target audience, shortlisted ideas for the products or services that you're going to produce for that audience, and select the best business model for you. Day 3, we went through the execution. It was a step-by-step framework for launching and scaling, taking those first steps. On day 4 was service and support, so we went through tools, the skills, the teams, where to get help, also financing, and bootstrapping, and legal structure. And today we went through scaling with products and people, regaining your purpose, mission, and status and income, and becoming part of the movement. So it's a wrap. Once again, bonus session is happening tomorrow. The replay will stay up in the group indefinitely for now until I decide to take it down or the next challenge starts. And the homework assignment will be posted immediately after the live session. Once again, if you have any questions on the material covered today, please go ahead and submit it in the comments below this video, or bring them to the live tomorrow. I want to thank you again sincerely for joining me this week. I hope this helps to change at least one veteran life for the better and achieve their financial independence and security that everybody wants. Again, I'm always accessible in this group. You can DM me on Messenger. You can find me on Instagram if you prefer, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Just I'm here for you guys. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow at the bonus session.